Today, what we are going to do is learn about how to use this program called MyWorld. Okay, MyWorld is a program that I wrote to make your life a little bit easier. All right, so we're going to be able to get into some kind of cool stuff pretty quickly without you guys knowing a lot about programming, which is kind of nice. And then you can kind of build up your understanding of what we're doing as we go along. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new program, and we're going to call it Simple World. Okay, we're going to do something new today, and that is we're going to name a superclass. And a superclass means basically it's a class that we're going to build off of. So we're going to use the things that have already been established in MyWorld. All right, so we're going to type in MyWorld there, and then anything that we use that's going to extend MyWorld is also going to be a program. So we're going to click here that we want a main method. All right, so three things: simple world, MyWorld, and then main method. When you finish, you get a program that looks a little bit more complex, but we're going to go ahead and get rid of some of this stuff. So in the main method, you can get rid of that comment. You guys don't get this comment in front of your main method, so don't worry about that. We're going to get rid of this method inside of this new method that we have called draw. And if you have an override statement here, or override thingy here, you can go ahead and get rid of that too. So we're just kind of cleaning this up a little bit. And then go back into the main method right here. And again, if you kind of got confused, or like if you got rid of too much stuff, you can always go to the right of the starting brace, hit return, and then you know that you're inside of the main method. Okay? And what we want to do inside of this main method is a little bit different from what we've been doing before. We're going to create a new simple world. Okay? So the spelling of this has to be the same as the spelling of the class. Okay? So capital S, capital W for me. If you didn't do that when you made yours, make sure it matches whatever is up here. Okay, and then we need a set of parentheses. We're going to create a simple world object here, and then put a semicolon, and that's all that we're going to do with the main method today. Okay, so right now you should be able to save that and run it. When you run it, we get basically a default MyWorld frame. Okay, so this is what all of the MyWorld programs are based off of. Today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding some shapes in here. Eventually what we're going to be doing is having some stuff move around in there, making games and stuff like that. Okay, so that's what you kind of have to look forward to, but every MyWorld is based off of a frame that looks like this. Okay, we said that we have a new method inside of Simple World that just showed up automatically for us. Okay, and that's because Eclipse knows that every MyWorld program has to have a draw method. Okay, and that's because of what I did in MyWorld. Don't worry too much about that. If you ever mistakenly get rid of the draw method, your stuff will not work unless you put it back in. Okay, so you got to have a draw method in order to say that you extend MyWorld. Okay, and the big thing that's new with the draw method, I guess, is, this isn't new, it just has a name called draw, but this is new here, and this is basically saying if I want to change the graphics that are on that MyWorld frame, you have to use a variable called G that represents all of the graphics. Okay? So that's the idea there. All right? So I'm going to go back over to our website here. What we've just done is talked about an intro to MyWorld, the draw method, and the parts of it. Okay? The one thing that I did kind of skip over is this idea that when you use certain object classes in Java, you have to do what's called an import. Okay? So let's go back over to Eclipse. All right, at the very top of the class here is our first import statement, I think. Okay, And basically what this is it's telling us this is a special class that isn't used all of the time, and this is where we're going to find it. Okay? Okay. So this is a graphic that I created in order to help you guys understand what's going on with the graphics in a frame. Okay? So this is the frame that we're looking at, and if we project that out to this, we kind of see that these the frame is made up of what are called pixels. Okay, so you guys mostly understand what a pixel is, I think. All right, and the top left-hand corner of this thing is at x equals 0 and y equals 0. Okay, and as I move across, okay, x's increase this way, and as I move down, y's increase down to 500. So this top right corner is x equals 500, y equals 0. This bottom left corner is x equals 0, y equals 500. This corner is 500, 500. That makes sense? So everything that we add, we want it to be added between 0 and 500 in both x and y. All right? So hopefully that makes sense to you. And we're going to continue on over on Eclipse and try to figure out what's going on with this. So inside of the draw method, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to tell G that we want to do something to it. And so the way that we tell it we want to do something to it is with the dot operator. And the thing that we want to do is set its color. Okay? In programming, okay, so let me kind of take a step back. So the next thing here is this is expecting a color argument. This should automatically give you the colors that you can use. Okay, those colors are defined inside of MyWorld. Okay, so if I find one that I like, I can either type it in or I can select it here and just double click, and then it'll give me red. Okay, I put extra spaces in there just to make it more readable for you. All right. The word set, or the prefix set in programming, means change. So right now we're telling G to change its color to red. All right? And the next thing that we're going to do under there is we're going to go G.fill oval, and then we're going to give it some arguments. Okay? So this thing is expecting 4 arguments from us, and I'm just going to tell you right now that those arguments are our x value. Okay? And so once I plug one of them in, I'm going to hit the tab key to get to the next one. 200, tab. This one is my width, so I'm going to set my width to 25, tab, and my height is going to be 75. All right, so that's what my oval is going to look like, and now I'm going to go ahead and run it again. Okay, so thinking about that grid again. All right. We've set the color to red, and now we've said go to x equals 50, so slide over 50, go to y equals 200, slide down to 200, all right, and then make an oval that has a width of 25 and a height of 75, all right, and that's how that works. So I'm going to do one more thing in here, and I'm going to go G.draw Rect. Okay, so Rect stands for rectangle. And I'm going to use the exact same values that we used just a second ago. Okay, so one thing I want to point out to you is that I didn't set the color before I did this G.draw Rect. So let's go ahead and run that. Okay. So maybe it's kind of hard for you guys to tell this, but what color is this rectangle? That's black, okay? So if I don't set the color is going to be black, all right? If I want it to be a different color, then I have to set the color before I draw the next thing, okay? This is a drawn rect, so all I get is the outline. This is a fill oval, so I get the oval all filled in, all right? The other thing that this should demonstrate for you is that when we do an oval, okay, when we do an oval, it finds that 5200, which is right there. Okay, it draws an imaginary rectangle that's whatever the width is, which in this case is 25, and whatever the height is, in this case 75, and then it fills the oval inside of that rectangle. Make sense for everyone? Okay. Let's go back over to here. All right. So what we've just done is talked about what graphics are, how to set the color, how to do different kind of shapes. So these are the different fill and draw methods that we'll use from graphics. Okay. Graphics has a bunch of other stuff that it can do, but for now we don't really need to know all of that stuff. And if you're on the website and you want to look at more stuff that you can do, you can click here and that'll bring you to like a list of a crap ton of other methods that you can use from graphics. Okay, there are a couple here that might be interesting for you. So one of them is draw line. Okay, lines don't have a width and a height. Okay, so that means, sorry about that. So that means that when we draw a line, we have to give it the starting position, X and Y, and the ending position of that line, or ending point, X2, Y2. So let's go ahead and try to do one of those. All right. So we're going to go G dot draw line. Okay. And this wants 4 arguments as well, but like I just told you, it's X1, Y1, X2, Y2. Okay. So we're going to go from, I don't know, 200, 200, up to 400, 100. Okay? Right now what I want you to do is just conjecture for yourself what color is that line going to be. Okay? So if you said red, you were right. Okay, so whatever I set the color to be, it's going to stay that color until I change it. All right? So it's right there. All right, so we go over 200, down 200. That's our first point. And then I think I said over 400 and down 100. That's our second point, and that's how we made that line. If I want that line to be a different color, then I got to go G.set_color before it, and then fill in whatever color I like. Okay, I like indigo. So if I run that again, now I get an indigo line. Okay? So, go back over to here. The other one that's kind of weird is this draw arc and fill arc. And I think fill arc is a little bit easier to understand once you see it. So we're going to look at that one. Okay, so a fill arc needs an X and a Y, needs a width and a height, then it needs a start angle and an arc length. Okay, so let's go ahead and try to do that. All right, we're going to go back over to here, and I'm going to make an orange. Arc. So draw, I'm going to do fill arc. Okay, so like I said, if I don't want to type all this stuff in, as soon as I see that it has fill arc highlighted, I hit return, and now it's just looking for arguments. Okay, so I'm going to say that this one should start at 300, 200, and I'm going to make this a circular arc, so I'm going to go ahead and make my width and height the same value. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Okay, so I'm going to say 150 by 150, and then I have to put in my start angle. So that's where this arc is going to start. I'm going to say started at 90, and then I have to put in my arc length, and I don't know what I want that to be, so I'm just going to say that I want it to be 245, whatever that is. Okay, so that's my last arguments, and then I'm going to close that off. Okay, and then I'm going to run that. All right, so that's what that arc looks like. Okay, so G dot fill arc. Again, this is x equals 300, y equals 200. This thing is, if I filled it all the way in, it would be a circle. So width is 150, height is 150. And then, how do we know what's going on here? Okay, well, I gave you a nice little graphic right over here. Okay, and so listen up. This is what we just did. Is we said start at 90. Okay, so if I use this, this is starting at 90, and then I said go 245. Well, what's 90 plus 245? 335. Okay, so that means that's going to start here, and the arc length is going to say continue this arc all the way over to 335 degrees, which would be right about there. And if we go back and look at that, you can see that that's pretty much what it did. Okay? Any questions on how that works? Okay, you can kind of play around with that. You can see another example here. This one starts at 30 and has an arc length of 240. So here's my 30, which is like this. 30 plus 240 is 270. So it's going to go all the way over to 270, and you can kind of see that that's what that did. Hopefully that makes a lot of sense to you. Okay? Here's what you guys are going to try to do now. You guys are going to try to make this little Pac-Man graphic. All right? You can do it.